Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our weekly machine learning seminar. Today we'll have a pleasure to have a presentation from Samuel Renault, who is a line manager in the Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology in Luxembourg. And who will present us quite distinctive topic that we haven't yet witnessed on these seminars on some legal work on research and application of artificial intelligence. So Renault, the virtual floor is yours. Please go ahead.
So thank you for the invitation to present to this seminar. I'm really pleased to present you the field of activity we are working on for the moment. So I'm indeed Samuel Renault. I'm a Technology and Innovation Line Manager in LIST here in Luxembourg. And the focus for today is indeed this EU regulation ongoing that will impact a lot of AI practitioners in Europe and probably worldwide. So I will present you what is the summary of the content and how it may impact our activities. So first of all, what is the AI Act? The AI Act is the name of future regulation. So for the moment, it's a bill of law. It's under definition. And the first draft has been released more than 1 year ago, almost 1 year and a half. It was 2021 in April, and it was issued by the EU Commission at that time. So the aim of the regulation we'll see later on is to regulate somehow the deployment on the market of AI systems in Europe, or also AI systems that impact EU citizens, even if they are not deployed in Europe. It follows more or less the same trend as the GDPR. So you are probably aware of the GDPR in Europe. And you know that it has impacted a lot of companies, including companies outside of Europe, as long as EU citizens are impacted by the data collection. So the AI Act will follow more or less the same scheme. So it will be a European directive, which means that it will not be transposed in member states. So as soon as the regulation will be adopted at European level, it will be applicable directly in the 28 member states of Europe, following more or less the same scheme as GDPR. So why do we do the parallel with GDPR? Because it's a kind of follow-up. So GDPR addresses the protection of personal data. And following the same trend, AI Act intends to regulate AI systems that are deployed in Europe and that may impact European citizens. So more or less the same scheme. And a disclaimer before going on into the content, it's a work in progress. So the content I will present is based on this initial version that has been published 18 months ago. And since then, there have been an intense discussion with many feedbacks and many amendments proposed by many actors in Europe. So, for example, the EU Council presidency from France has issued a lot of comments in February this year. At European level, there has been many comments also from various committees, committees from industry, research and energy, and committees from legal affairs. And all in all, there have been more than 3,000 amendments proposed based on this initial version. So the final outcome, when the law will be adopted, might not be exactly the version, the initial version. So what I present today might not exactly reflect what will be the final version. So this is a disclaimer. Keep keep in mind that the content will evolve over the coming months. We don't know yet when the regulation will be voted and adopted due to the number of amendments, which is quite unusual for EU directive. It seems that the regulation may be implemented in 2024 or maybe 1 year later in 2025. So we still have some time to prepare, but it might come quite fast. Also, we won't go into very detail of each and every article of the law, of course, but this is also due to the fact that due to the amendment, the law might evolve, so it's not necessary and it's useless to go into tiny details right now. The idea is more to have an overall picture of the regulation and its impact, and the details we will know them when the final law will be adopted in a couple of months. So first of all, what is the definition of AI according to the regulation? Well, the regulation has a very large definition of AI system that encompass machine learning, of course, but also all systems that use analytics, that use optimization, and that use knowledge representation and analysis, including knowledge graph, ontologies, and inference system. So why did the EU took this very large definition? Well, the reason is simple, is the EU wanted to regulate systems that can make decisions, and those decisions can have an impact on EU citizens or their rights. And it has been stated by one of the policy officers of DG Connect at a conference that took place recently in May this year here in Luxembourg. And it has also been repeated in various events where this AI Act regulation has been discussed since the publication of the first version. So you see that AI system in this law is not only machine learning, but also any kind of system that can make a decision at some point with an impact on citizens. The scope of the regulation is also quite wide. It's the providers of AI systems that are deployed on the EU markets, regardless their establishment location. So this means that somebody who is developing an AI system in USA, for example, or in Asia, but this system can be deployed on in Europe, then the provider is in the scope of this EU regulation. Also, the users of those AI systems deployed in Europe and the providers and users if they are outside Europe, but if the output of the AI system is also used in Europe. So as for similarly to GDPR, the scope is quite wide and will impact well beyond Europe and the borders of Europe. But worth to be noted that AI systems that are developed exclusively for military purpose are outside of the scope of this regulation. So what will the AI Act cover? First, the AI Act defines a classification of AI systems that are deployed or that will be deployed in Europe. And according to this classification, the AI systems are allowed or not. And if they are allowed, they have to follow a set of rules after their deployment or their putting on the market. So the AI systems that present unacceptable risks for EU citizens or their rights are prohibited. And we will see what kind of AI system have been defined by the regulation. Those who present high risks have to comply to some requirements, and we will see what those requirements are. And those who present medium to low risk are invited to be compliant, but are not obliged to be compliant to the requirements. So the AI Act defines the classification of those systems, the requirements, and the compliance mechanism that we will discover in the following slides. Worth to be noted that the compliance mechanism follows the same rule as for the GDPR, which is the accountability principle. Accountability means that companies are supposed to follow the rules, and we don't expect companies to demonstrate at each and every step that they follow the rules, except in specific situations that we will see. But there is a kind of trust a priori for the company. But in case of event or in case of doubt, then the authority can come to the company and ask for evidence that they have put in place all the compliance mechanism, and the company have to demonstrate how they comply to the regulation. So this is a trust a priori and not full demonstration of compliance at every deployment of AI systems. And the law also, the regulation also schedules some rules for enforcement and some fines that are also following the same scheme as GDPR, but are a bit higher than the fines that are scheduled for the GDPR. So the prohibited AI systems, according to the AI Act, are the systems that present unacceptable risks for human beings or fundamental rights of EU citizens. So the systems that manipulate persons are forbidden. And examples of such systems are, for example, deepfake video systems, as long as they are not explicit to the user. So this is an example of a deepfake system where the video replaces the face of one actor by the face of another one. I guess you know this kind of AI systems, at least from a general perspective. And this kind of system will be forbidden if they are not presented, if they are not explicitly stated to the user that it is a manipulation of the image. Also, AI systems that intend to do social scoring by public authority, generally for a generic purpose. This won't be allowed at EU level. We know that it exists in some countries, and in particular, we have examples of such system deployed in China, I think, and this will be forbidden in Europe. And also, very specific cases of biometric identification in public space for law enforcement, as long as it is real-time and remote. So examples are those AI systems that do face recognition in real time. So this will be forbidden in Europe. There is a huge debate among the amendments that have been proposed by the various committee about this third system that to be forbidden by the AI Act. So we are not sure that this kind of system will be eventually forbidden or exactly under these terms, but this is these are the expectation from the initial version of the AI Act. So all these three kinds of systems will be forbidden in Europe. High-risk AI systems are larger categories of AI systems based on their purpose. So it's not based on the technology that is used and nor on the algorithms, but more on the purpose of the system. So, for example, systems to perform biometric identification or systems that are embedded in critical infrastructure for safety, monitoring or safety reaction and behavior are considered as high-risk AI systems. Also, some systems that we may not expect to have classified in this category of high risk. For example, AI system that is the access to education and vocational training, or that is the assessment of training participants. The same for employment. So, for example, AI systems that are used for recruitment and selection of candidates, that are used for decision on promotion or termination of contracts, and that are used to measure the performance of persons. Also the systems that are used for essential services, not only public services, private services might also be impacted as long as they are considered essential services. So for example, if you are eligible or not, so systems that are used to determine if you are eligible or not to some kind of services, for example, grants for education, or credit scoring, so assess whether you can have access to credit in a banking consideration and things like that. For law enforcement, for border control, and for justice and law in general. So in the next slide, I have a bit more detail about each and every category, but this is an extract from, in fact, one appendix of the law. So the best, if you are interested by the tiny details, is to go into the annex of the law to have all those details. But you see that high-risk AI systems will be quite numerous, in fact, and almost all kinds of AI systems might at some point be considered as a high-risk AI system, as long as they impact strongly EU citizens. And medium to low risk are all other AI systems that are not classified as unacceptable or high risks. For those systems, again, there is no obligation to comply to requirements, but it's strongly recommended to do so, and the EU regulation foresee a code of conduct to ease the application of recommendation. So what are the recommendations to follow or to comply with for high-risk AI systems? There are 7 main items of compliance, and there are also horizontal obligations. So horizontal obligations are obligation to follow obligation applied to the provider of AI system or to the user of AI system, but that are not specifically applied to one system, one AI system deployed on the market. On the left-hand side, you see the compliance scope. Those items are assessed whenever a high-risk AI system will be deployed on the EU market. So those items are risk management systems, so there will be an obligation to have a risk management approach, in particular for the design, development, and operation of the AI systems. Data and data governance, so some rules for managing the data and governing the data that are used to, again, develop the system, train the AI model, and evaluate the AI model as well. Technical documentation will have a grasp of the expectation with regard to technical documentation, but roughly speaking, there will be an expectation to have a lot of documentation of each and every step during the development and the operation of the AI systems. An obligation to keep some records, also records from the development and records from the operation of the AI systems. Expectation with regard to transparency and information to users. And expectation with regard to human oversight. This is an important point because the idea behind this requirement is that no one and no organization that deploy a high-risk AI system will be able to say, okay, we hand over decision to an AI system, and when a decision is made, we cannot say, okay, it's due to the AI system. It's meant to be to have a human always in the loop, and in case a decision is challenged by EU citizen, even if the decision has been made by AI system, then due to the transparency and due to the human oversight, at some point, human should still be in the loop to explain why the decision has been made and what are the options for the person impacted by the decision to challenge the decision. And also requirements with regard to more technical aspects of accuracy, of robustness of AI system, and of course of cybersecurity. And all those requirements have been defined in various articles of the regulation so far. Who are the impacted organization? So, as already been presented, a lot of organization and person will be impacted. So first of all, the users of the AI system, so anyone using an AI system. So when we say users of AI system, you should understand organizational users. So from an enterprise perspective, if you are a personal user or if you use an AI system for your personal purpose, then you are not in the scope of the AI Act, of course. Only if an organization, so a company or a public institution use an AI system, then it falls in the scope of the user of an AI system. The AI providers, of course, will be impacted, but also all manufacturers of products that embed AI in their system. So, for example, a medical imaging system, an IRM, for example, that would implement an AI system within the IRM machine will be impacted by the AI Act due to the fact that the AI model is embedded in the product. Another example is, of course, the car manufacturers that will embed AI models to ease, for example, the driving of the car or the autonomous driving of the car. Then, in that case, they are considered as product manufacturer embedding AI system, and they will fall into the scope of the AI Act. Importers of AI system and distributors as well will be impacted. So all those are represented in the law, are named as operator of AI system. So whenever in the law says operator of AI system, it means anybody, should it be user, provider, importer, or distributor of the AI system. So you see that the AI Act will impact a lot of organizations, and not only those who develop the AI system. With regard to conformity assessment, high-risk AI system has to be compliant with compliant requirements I've presented that are present in the law. But due to the accountability principle for high-risk AI system, it can be based on internal control for most of them, except for AI systems that are used for biometric identification, where for those systems it's required to have an external assessment. And regardless whether the assessment is based on internal control or is performed by an external body, the conformity assessment should focus on the quality management system, the technical documentation, and the action and the operational and technical measures that the AI user or the AI provider has put in place to monitor the system after it has been put on the market. conformity assessment has to be performed each time there is a substantial modification on the AI system, and this triggers a huge debate among authors and among also stakeholders that have triggered amendments to the regulation, because we don't understand very precisely what is considered as substantial modification, in particular for AI systems. So, for example, if an AI system is retrained on a new set of data, is it considered as a substantial modification or not? And then will it be required to have a new conformity assessment due to the retraining of the model? So this is a huge debate for the moment at EU level, and we don't know exactly what the outcome will be for the moment. And there can be a certification for that, in particular when the assessment has been performed by an external body. And so the regulation has also prepared the ground for what they call notifying authority and notified body, which are the organization, the private organization that perform the conformity assessment and that deliver the certification. So it will follow more or less the same rule as for example, a quality certification. When an organization has an ISO 9000 certificate, then it has to follow certain rules of conformity assessment or certification assessment, and then the AI Act prepare the ground for the same kind of certification. So with regard to a timeline, what will be the impact of high-risk AI systems? So during the design at specification, so first of all, the specification should be very detailed and written to enter into the documentation. And the organization has to perform an internal impact assessment to determine, for example, if the system, the future AI system, will be or will not be a high-risk AI system. Then during development, we all know that to develop AI and machine learning, we have to train the model and then to evaluate. But here the requirement is to have everything written and documented properly, so as to enter into the documentation requirement of the regulation. Then there will be this step of conformity assessment based either on internal control or on a third body assessing whether the compliance requirements are respected or not. And after the assessment is performed, and before the AI system is placed on the market or open on the market, it will have to be registered in European database. And there will be an obligation to have declaration of conformity, which is a self-declaration by AI providers before the AI system is placed on the market. And when it's placed on the market and open to its user, there are still some rules and some obligations, and in particular, obligation to perform evaluation, what they call post-market performance evaluation. So at regular time, assess whether the AI system still performs according to the expectation, and if it needs retraining or not in particular. With regard to enforcement and penalties, the AI Act regulation foresee the same rules as for GDPR, which is fines that are based either on lump sum or annual worldwide turnover. The highest of the two, according to the non-compliance. So, for example, if an AI system is deployed in Europe, whereas it is a prohibited AI system because it bears or unacceptable risks for EU citizens, then the penalty can be up to 30 million euros or 6% of the annual worldwide turnover, the highest of the two, which means for a very big company developing AI system, the fines should normally be high enough to prevent the deployment of such kind of systems. And you see that the fine decrease or the penalties decrease according to the scope of the fault, so to say. And for administration in public body, fining is still possible, but at a lower scale. And it's scheduled in one specific article of the law. It won't be based on the annual worldwide turnover, but it's another scheme that apply to the company. And the AI Act also foresee something quite new, which is the regulatory sandbox. And the regulatory sandbox is defined as a control environment for the development, the testing, and the validation of an AI system according to regulation. So it is clearly a place where we can test an AI system before it is deployed on the market, and to assess whether or what kind of impact it can have on regulation or on specific regulation. And in this environment, the organization that intends to deploy the AI system is allowed to not respect some of the regulatory constraints that it intends to break. And the system will be monitored by a regulator, and the regulator in the end will decide whether or not the system is allowed to be put on the market. So it is for a limited period of time, and it had to be performed before the system is deployed on the market. And yeah, also the participant to the sandbox, so the company that use the regulatory sandbox mechanism still remain liable. It's not because they have gone through the regulatory sandbox that they are totally excluded from their liabilities, from their legal liability. For example, if their AI system harm somebody or has a negative impact on European citizens. Then I have a couple of slides on technical documentation, so I won't go into each and every detail here, but you will have access to the slide after the presentation, and you will be able to go into the detail if you don't want to go into the annex of the AI Act. But the idea here is to mention that there are a lot of expectations with regard to technical documentation. AI development and AI company will be expected to provide a lot of documentation with regard to their AI system, in particular documentation of all the development process that has occurred and all the decisions that have been made during the process of development. So I skip the slides. And now I come to a couple of slides that are not directly extracted from the regulation, but more personal perspective and personal vision on the impact of AI regulation. So it's less binding and less related, directly related to the AI regulation. First of all, we have to stress the importance of AI standardization. So the AI Act will heavily rely on standards. And for the moment, there are more than 35 standards that are relevant to the AI Act, according to 2 watches, and one at European level from the GRC, and another at Luxembourgish level from the ILNAS. If you are interested in, I invite you to read these 2 papers that have been issued 1 year ago. And those papers present the current state of standardization that have an impact on the AI Act. What is important to notice is that less than half of those standards have been published. So more than half are still in definition. And it is important to follow those standardization aspects of that have an impact on AI. And there is a huge effort of standardization bodies at international and at European level to define standards in various fields that impact AI development. And for example, standards to assess the performance of AI systems. So impact on organization. So during AI system development, the first step will be to perform an impact assessment. So the key question will be, for example, will the future AI system be a risky one? So you need to determine if your AI system will be in the classification or not. If the AI system is intended to be generic, then it should be considered whether the system can be used in one of the risky situations. And then based on this impact assessment, you have to enter into a risk management approach where you determine the risk of the AI system and start to act accordingly. At this step, you can also determine if you need to go through a regulatory sandbox. So for example, will the AI system at some point be touching one regulation? And so in that case, it might be important to go into a regulatory sandbox. At the design phase, the choice of data for training and testing, the system should be assessed for the risk and in particular for the bias. It's clearly stated in the AI regulation that bias is an important risk factor, so it has to be assessed at the design level and then documented during the development. The choice of the algorithm is also, of course, important. And due to the need to explain and to still have a human in the loop to provide the explanation of the outcome of the algorithm, then it's preferable to use white box algorithm. But of course, if performance is a key issue, and we know that black box algorithms are or tend to be more performant than white box, then in case of black box AI systems, then explainable AI method and tool should be used to ease the interpretation of the model outcomes. Then data management, it's an important point. So you have to know your data, where the data come from, what are the assumptions with regard to the data, what are the steps for data curation during the data curation for the purpose of developing the AI systems. And we need to have a documentation of all those parts. Logging and versioning is a key point. As part of the record management, versions of the AI models have to be kept. And so the use of versioning systems is a key point to ease the compliance to this part of the regulation. So keeping track of the data used for training and testing, and keeping track of all the parameters and all changes in the parameters or hyperparameters that have been used for the training of the model. So one key point is to use the logging mechanisms and keep the logs, of course, for documentation. With regard to documentation, as I briefly presented, there are huge expectations with regard of documentation of AI systems. So it will be a key point to document the code of the AI systems and to document all the steps of the development process, all the tests that have been performed, all the manual steps at some point during the development. And one key point is to follow good practice of software engineering during the course of the AI model development. So, for example, use any tool that can ease the code documentation, that can ease the logging, and that can ease the testing of the AI systems. Before software systems are put on the market, there is this step of conformity assessment. So organization will have to decide on the conformity assessment process. Should they go through internal control or external body assessment? And should they pre-check the conformity at some point before doing the formal conformity assessment? And after the conformity assessment, there is this post-assessment step where the system should be registered in the European database, and there should be a conformity EU conformity mark where applicable. And after the system is put on the market, there are those steps of post-conformity assessment. So at organizational level, what organization will have to take care of is to have a quality management systems with a description of the process and a regular review of this system, and the same for risk management approach. There is no obligation to bear an ISO certification. So when we say quality management system and risk management system, sometimes organizations think we need to be ISO 9000 certified, or we need to be ISO 27000 certified for information management, for example, that include a risk management system. There is no such obligation in the AI Act, but of course, if you have, or if organizations have such kind of certification, it will ease the conformity assessment at some point. So it's not an obligation, but it is the conformity assessment. So that's all for the presentation. I hope I have been clear now on the impact of the future regulation. Bear in mind that the regulation is not yet adopted. There are still rounds of negotiation with regard to all the amendments, and we will know hopefully in a couple of months what will be the outcome and what will be the clear impact of the regulation on AI systems developers and AI system users. So thanks for
Thank you, Samuel, for your presentation, and I'm opening to discussion. If you would like to ask questions, just raise your hand or switch on your mic. I have few, but I'll wait. So I would like to ask one question for the starter. Yeah. That you already mentioned this, but the immanent property of many AI systems that they are like a black box of a black box kind, especially for some problems that are complex. We don't know an explicit algorithm that solves those problems, or if they are such, they are highly inefficient and we cannot apply them to real problems. So you mentioned this explainable AI.
Yes.
So will it be a sort of necessity for high risk AI applications, or how it will be, according to your intuition, how it will be treated by the law?
As far as I understand, and it's not clearly stated in the AI Act text for the moment, there is no clear expectation that a specific explainability method should be adopted. But it's more generic. It's mentioned that you should be able to explain a decision made by a system, and you cannot rely on saying, okay, the system has made the decision. It cannot be like that. And you have to explain why the system has made the decision. So of course, if you use an explainable AI method, then it will guide you through possible ways to explain the decision made by the AI system. So in short, it's not clearly stated in the regulation that you should or you must use explainable AI method. But of course, if you use one, it will ease the expectation for explaining the decisions that have been made by the system.
I see. But still, for many applications, like the ones that are using the visual data, we know that there are these adversary attacks possible, and it would be hard to prevent it or assure it, like to prove that the system is proof from adversary attacks, right? It's not that
Yes,
straightforward to do and enforce.
yeah, there is this expectation of robustness and cyber security. So again, well, maybe I'm going too far in this interpretation, but I believe that it will not be required to have systems that are 100% proof of any kind of attack. We all know that attacks are still possible, but at least we need to demonstrate that we have assessed the risk and we have taken all the measures that we know are applicable for the moment, given the current state of practice, to prevent this kind of attacks.
And the autonomous driving systems, because you showed some examples of the systems that are of unacceptable risk to the society.
Yeah.
But like, let's say when I looked at those examples and I thought about autonomous driving cars and maybe the whole systems that are based on autonomous driving, it looks similar. And does it mean that the European Union will be less eager to allow this sort of autonomous driving systems, or?
Autonomous driving is not at all mentioned in the AI Act regulation. It's not mentioned as an example. Maybe in the preamble there are such kind of example, but nevertheless, it's not. For example, if you have a look at the appendix that describe the forbidden and the high-risk AI system, autonomous driving is not mentioned at all. But it will be, in my opinion, classified in those systems that are embedded into a solution. And of course, it can harm a person, because a car that hit a person can harm a EU citizen. So if it's an AI system that has made a driving decision, then at that point, it will be considered as a high-risk AI system. But it's not forbidden per se in the AI Act regulation. But as far as I know, I'm not an expert in autonomous driving or mobility, but I think that it's more the regulation for cars and for driving in Europe that for the moment forbids very advanced autonomous level for cars in Europe. So it's not due to the AI Act, but more due to the driving regulation in Europe for the moment.
I have a question. Sorry to interrupt. I have a question linked to this, and it's basically related to the responsibility of the outcomes of the algorithms or of the models, where in the end, like are the creators responsible for outcomes that they? I mean, because if these are intelligent systems, so you cannot know the response to all possible inputs. So to which extent are the creators responsible, or otherwise, who would take the responsibility, or does the tool itself has some kind of responsibility, or how is that recorded, or where is the responsibility pointing at?
So that's a very interesting question, because it has triggered a lot of debate among actors at EU level. This question of responsibility of decision made by AI system. For the moment, it's not really clear, and it's still under discussion whether liability will be included or not in the Act. For the moment, it's not. It's not described as such in the version that has been published. But I know that there are huge debate on the liability. To make an answer that is not a clear-cut answer, the point is, for example, an AI system developer has to document the range, for example, of data or the range of use of its AI system, and to clearly state the limit of use. So, for example, if you develop an AI system that makes decision in credit scoring, and that system is used to assess or to score people, but for something different than credit, then the responsibility is more on the user than on the developer. So a system developer will have to describe the AI system range of use or expected use and non-expected use when they know in advance. And the same will apply for data. So which data has been used, for example, to train the system, and if, for example, an AI system makes a decision based on data that are completely different from the data used to train the system, that at some point the liability might be more for the user than for the developer. But it's not a very clear answer for the moment, and there are very, very intense debate at European level on that particular point.
Okay, thank you.
I think it might be, to some extent, similar to the pharmaceutical business, that they develop some medicines, they test it thoroughly on some beta users, let's say,
yeah,
and using other methods. But in the end of the day, we don't know exactly what the impact will be, a long-term impact or specific impact on some specific patients. And we know that legally these are very complex cases, and there were many situations in which there was a big legal battle related to this.
The comparison makes sense. And if we have a look at the documentation that is expected, you can see very strong parallels, because when you purchase a medication, you have always this notice that is very long and that explains what you can do and what you can't do with the medication, and it will be more or less the same for AI system.
And what about open access codes? Because these are like a gray market. People can develop a system that can be freely downloaded to your computer, and by many people, by EU citizens. And if the system is popular, it will be very broadly used and interact between people. And then the question is, and it can be highly risky for some reason, right?
Yeah.
And the question is whether this EU Act will regulate somehow this area that is not related to any company. It is like a private. I will write some code. I will put it to open source as an open source to some repository, and people will be able to download it. And
I think the key point is, or the key point mentioned by the regulation is when the AI system is put on the market. So as long as the system is not commercialized, then a priori the regulation does not apply. So I think in that case, if somebody develop an open source system and publish it, but does not use it commercially, the responsibility will be on the organization that takes the decision to use it for commercial purpose at some point. But I guess it might not be, well, for sure it will trigger important judiciary debate on this particular topic. But again, the key point is putting the AI system on the market. This is the point at which the regulation takes all its meaning.
Okay, I can see the question from Charles Young. Please go ahead.
Hello. Thank you for the talk. It's very informative. I have a thing I want to discuss a bit because you're saying that in Europe it's like prohibited to give a general score to everybody. But I think this kind of assessment somehow might be helpful. Let's say I'm a bank manager. There's a customer want to loan some money from me. If there's a system can help me easily assess this person is trustworthy, I don't really need a score. I mean, I just want to know if I should do that business. So does it allowed currently?
Yes, it will, because in your example, it's a bank that will score a person. What is not allowed is social scoring by public authority for a generic purpose. So there are 3 conditions. It should be social scoring, it should be performed by public authority, and it should be generic. So in your case, it's a bank, so it's not a public authority, and it's for a specific purpose, which is giving access to a credit or not. So in that case, it's clearly allowed, although it's still a high-risk AI system because the AI system can make a decision about giving you access to some essential service, which is a credit service, for example.
Yeah, because like in this scenario, like I'm the bank, so what I actually want is all this history or all his bank statement of the customers, not only in my bank or in all his his rent or whatever, his other credit with other banks. So that might cause some problem, I think, or not. I'm not sure.
It will not be forbidden by the law, but it will be considered as a high-risk AI system. So then the bank will have to go through the conformity assessment of its AI system and through all the steps of documentation and yeah.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I can see no question now, and I believe this presentation was really informative and will be helpful. And I have a question to you, Samuel. Would you be able to send me the presentation so I will post it on the machine learning seminar website to be available to others? It would be, I think, very helpful in the future.
Yeah, no problem. I will send that to you.
Thank you again, Samuel, for your time and for presenting us this important topic. And thank you all for your attention and for the discussion. So have a good day and feel invited for the next week. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Have a nice day.